everybody. Thank you, Floodgate family, for joining us on this edition of MedTech Emerging Minds. And I'm absolutely ecstatic to have a great entrepreneur, just an ecstatic person, Jessica Walsh, who is the founder and CEO of Rx Bandz. Jessica, thanks so much for coming to join us on MedTech Emerging Minds. Glad to have you.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, well, I've gotten an opportunity to get to know you, in several conversations, but most people don't. So tell us a little bit about you. And I think really what I'd love to understand too is your origin story is very unique and what inspired you to start this business. So please tell us that part of the story.
So I was stung by a bee, had a massive anaphylactic reaction. Now, keep in mind, I had been stung many times before as a child, but I guess it's one of the things as you grow older, this can happen. So wasn't allergic before, but now I am. Again, had that massive anaphylactic reaction. Now, I was always told if you set your mind to something, you can accomplish anything. But shutting down an anaphylactic reaction does not seem to be one of them. I don't know if you've ever experienced something.
Fortunately not.
Oh, right. But for the people who have not, also, your airway shuts down. You start to break out in hives. Off to the ER I go. They're like, okay, that was an 8, a 10, you're dead. So, and this happens so quickly. So you need to carry an epinephrine auto-injector. Here's EpiPen, here's Teva's recent innovation with you at all times. So when I go running, where do I put this? And I ended up duct taping them to my arm. Looked so ridiculous. Embarrassing, right? I look like Buzz Lightyear, just not as fast. I was like, oh goodness. I want something small and lightweight and really easy to use and something I put in my pocket. And on top of that, so this is good for people who may have someone in their family who has anaphylaxis. They can be really confusing to use and they're intimidating, right? They're huge and they look like they hurt. And let me tell you, they do. So, okay, first step in using it, take it out of the case, pull this out, and then you see a big hole, right? So people go like that and inject their thumb. So huge issue with this. And for me, for carrying it, because it looks like it really hurts. So, and they expire each year. And so when mine expired, it's like, what's inside, right? They're really expensive. And in my mind, as a patient at that time, before I was a founder, I was like, okay, well, the needle, it must be this big, and probably the drug is like that big, and maybe that's the delivery mechanism. And when I cut it open and I saw the insides, I felt really ripped off as a patient because the needle is this big. The amount of drug that's delivered out of here is about the size of my pinky nail, and the rest is the delivery mechanism. It's like that. When you have a cereal box when you're a child and the toy you think is going to be huge and it's just a tiny little thing. Well, that was sort of like the same feeling. I'm like, is this so big to deliver 0.3 ml?
Yeah.
Kidding me. There has got to be a better way. And sometimes you need to drive the change you want to see in the world. So looking at the parts and components, I had an idea, sketched out a few designs, and created Rx Bandz. I mean, not just for me, but it's like, I need to make this change if this is possible. And I have an idea that can save lives and make a difference. Then you have to move forward, right?
Right. Yeah.
So, built a team, and now here we are.
Yeah. So where are you on this process? How long of a journey? When did you actually, from napkin, I guess, to where you are now? Give me.
Right. So from napkin sketching, if we put the needle here and the drug here, and we have a hydraulic delivery system that goes around, and then you have the cartridge here and activation activation button on one side, so people aren't having to, pull a cap, do this, do that, put your hand here to inject. And something that doesn't stay in your leg. So when you use these auto injectors, when you slam it against your leg, the needle stays in your leg until you pull it away. So if you jump, it hurts. So in creating and coming up with that design, that napkin sketch design and modeling things out, it's like that's when you really have to build a team. So I was fortunate enough to uh, um, have a team come together that has decades of experience in engineering, manufacturing, quality management. They all come with their own why, right? But it all aligns really well with what we're trying to accomplish with bringing a patient centric auto injector and getting it into the hands of people to save lives. So whether they came from a background in Johnson and Johnson biochemical engineer, such as our CTO or our chief drug development officer, who is behind several other the formulation in several other epinephrine auto injectors, they all had that in-depth experience that's just world class. Or our chief strategy officer has put together some of the largest deals in pharma. So just incredibly fortunate to have built that team to execute, because as a founder, you can't do it on your own, right? And I think that's a thing that's so easy to think, that as if you're going into building an organization and taking as a founder, is people have said to me, well, are you a doctor? I'm like, no. Like, are you an engineer? No. It's so thinking that you need to do it all is, I feel, almost a common misconception, and prevents people in some ways from executing
Yeah,
on ideas, because you need to have that doctor, you need to have that engineer, but thinking that you can do it all and be the expert in every one of those things, no. But your team, they have to be,
absolutely.
absolutely. Yeah, so from there, building that team, um, and then we were fortunate enough to bring in investors, and then also the military. So it was interesting. I was pitching at the Society of Physician Entrepreneurs. By the way, you don't need to be a physician to be able to join. So it's a great program, and one of our first investors came up in a Stony Lonesome group and had said to us, this has great military applications. Love to invest, but I definitely want you to pursue the military. And then, lo and behold, from there, Fort Detrick had reached out to us and said, we'd like your technology. Come on down. I was like, are we in trouble? They're like, no. We love the device. So we met with them, and our first military contract came out of that. A CRADA, to be able to work with them, which is a cooperative research and development agreement. So as you can see how it starts to build,
Yeah.
and yeah, and so much traction. So now we have 15 military contracts. It's just with amazing champions in from AFSOC, SOCCOM, 24 Sal,
Yeah.
Medical Modernization, 711th Group. It's just 59th Medical Wing. Oh my goodness, right? They've just, I think as we've worked with so many different groups, the support that we've gotten from them, and their love of our what we've created, has just been incredible.
Nice. Now, and these contracts are still development contracts now because it's not fully in market for FDA, or is it
Right.
correct?
So let me show you, as I have talked about the issues and the team that I
Yeah.
built.
Yeah. I'd love to see the
Let me
process.
show
I
you what
understand
we
Yeah.
created. It's like,
Exactly. Well, it's small enough. It's going to fit on screen. That's the good news,
Right,
right?
exactly. So, okay, here is standard auto injector. Here's EpiPen.
Yeah.
And most auto injectors are very similar. And so here is MiniJect. So I showed you the issues of having to use a standard auto injector. Ours is really simple. You just pull off the cap and then you press it against your leg and it injects and fully retracts in under half a second.
Wow.
So over and done with before, like I could even form a tear, and believe me, I'll cry. So, I'm like, that has to be. I don't want them to like. It has to be like faster than a nurse can give you a shot. So, because I'm a baby with those sort of things, which I think helped with the development and saying like, no, I don't want.
If it's good for you, it's going to be good for anybody, right?
I don't want it in my leg. I'm like that. It would have been a lot easier to develop a lot larger auto injector. I'm like, no, I'm not going to carry that. I want something that will fit my tiny purse or in the little pocket of my jeans. And then lo and behold, that is keeping when we agonized over millimeters. It's so we were talking about the military. So they love it. One, because it's small, lightweight, easy to use, but also if you like, here's two auto injectors together. And then so we're able to create a kit of in here, there's 8.
Instead of 2, right?
Instead of 2, right? Here's the size, weight, 2, here's 8. And really simple, easy. Just you pull it out of the kit and then you have.
Cool.
So,
easy.
Form, epinephrine, ketamine, hydromorphone, TXA, and then we have antibiotic that we're going to be working on, scopolamine for nausea, and then room for 2 more. So,
That's awesome. So really making that multi-drug delivery available wherever they need it in the field and where the soldiers are, right? And where, in the future where ER is and where, where patients are, et cetera.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because what they have to do right now is for, we'll say, ketamine and hydromorphone, the medic has to needle and syringe, draw up a vial at dark, in night, sometimes under fire, and be able to then deliver that. And so if we can make this as a workforce multiplier for them, anyone can do it, right? They can toss this to someone, say, hey, give them, 2 red, a green, and a blue. It really becomes that workforce multiplier. So that way you don't need to have the advanced medical training to be able to save a life.
That's awesome. Awesome. I'm going to continue to ask some questions of Jessica, but we're going to take some questions at the end. She's got some fascinating experiences, a really fascinating product. So please post your questions, and we'll take those here at the end of the conversation. So please post those. We'll pull them in. Looks like we already have 1 question, so please just post them in there, and we'll get some more coming in. Now, give me an understanding of the market, right? For those that don't understand that auto-injector market, what's that total addressable market you think that MiniJect can disrupt?
Right. So it's auto-injector market is $120 billion the market for auto-injectors, right? So it's a massive market, especially as we've seen an explosion with GLP-1s that people are taking for weight loss. So
I never thought about that. Yeah.
Right. So not life-saving, maybe in a different way, but not necessarily
bringing convenience to people that need that treatment.
Exactly. So we've really developed our auto-injector as a drug delivery platform. It's designed to deliver a wide range of injectable medications from less than 1 ml, so that tiny, tiny amount, all the way up to 5 mLs via IM, which is intramuscular, or sub-Q, which is subcutaneously. So with that, also with a highly viscous biologics and vaccines, because we're using a hydraulic delivery system, that means we can control the speed. So it can go super fast, under 1/4 of a second, for epinephrine, or we can slow down the speed. So with our throttle, it can go super quick, or like as if you have the speed that you're pushing with your
drugs with higher viscosity.
Right? Because you don't want to have that shearing effect going through the needle. So sometimes for some drugs, it's better to go slower. So we really wanted to make this when we're designing. It's like, well, who are we designing for? People who have anaphylaxis, yes. People who need pain medication, yes. People who would need biologics or vaccines, absolutely. People who are at risk for overdose, of course, like anyone who needs injectable medication. That's one of the things that we work so hard to do, to be able to make it a platform technology. So this is our MiniJect. We also have OmniJect, which is just a little bit bigger, about a thumb longer and about a little pinky wider for exact measurements, and then a multi-ject, which can deliver 2 drugs at once, which is important for the military when they're looking at some of
Drug
the
combinations.
right, for anti-chemical warfare agents where they may need an atropine and an oxime and things like that.
Yeah, really incredible. So your horizon, if we're looking out 5 years,
Right.
right? Maybe 1 year and then 5 years. Let's go
Yeah.
there, right? So
Right.
tell me on the horizon, where will RX Bandz be?
Right. So in middle of 2026, we're filing with the FDA for this as a drug delivery platform. So it's our device master file or master access file. And then from there, we're going to start layering on the indications. Epinephrine. So we're looking at 2020, early 2027 for that. And then we're hydromorphone, ketamine, another drug that the military is also supporting, TXA. Not do you did we talk about TXA? Do you know what TXA is?
We did not, and I don't. So, and I'm sure other people listening don't either. So
Right.
tell us.
So sorry. So TXAs for non-compressible hemorrhage. Number one, preventable death in the military, but also maternal deaths worldwide. So you think about that. People in the military bleed to death. And if we can stop that and bring those men and women home, we should be able to. Let's do it. Currently, the problem is TXA currently is given through IV. So if someone is bleeding to death and you want to be able to help them, starting an IV, even if you're have that advanced medical training, can be really difficult in the back of a Black Hawk or in a tank. Can you imagine? Like, have you ever had someone trying to start an IV for you, right? And like just in the best conditions, and it can be difficult. Now do that at night under fire, or as people start to bleed out, their veins start to collapse, right? So making it even more difficult.
Mhm.
And then if you get the IV started, can you imagine being in the military and trying to hang it?
Yeah.
Right? It's like you might as well just set up a target. So, if you can't hang it, then what do you do? And that they're often rolling the person over and putting the bag underneath them, and trying to use their body weight as compression to keep the IV going. And then it's like, mud, dirt, right? Like, not the best. Like, our war fighters, the people who are working and putting their lives at risk to keep us safe, need better options. So we've taken through a military contract, we've taken TXA and we've concentrated it so you can put it in the auto injector. Just pull off the cap. Again, press it against your leg, injects, retracts. You don't need that advanced medical training. So we were looking at the larger market as well too for postpartum hemorrhage. I was like,
Yeah.
well, women giving birth, it's like, how big of a market can that be? And I was horrified to find that 14 million women develop postpartum hemorrhage and over 70,000 die each year. And a shot of
7-0.
seven
Wow.
zero. So I was at a stadium. As there's like, hey, we've had this amazing turnout. There's like 35,000 people in this stadium. I was looking around. I was like, double the stadium, fill it with women, and lose it every year. I was like, that is horrifying. So, that we could save lives. And so that's one of the and launch this. So we've done our bioequivalency studies. Our formulation outperforms, lasts longer, and appears to be safer than TXA given through IV. So that is so we've, as I was talking about the pipeline of our drugs, that's one that's going to take a little bit longer because we're changing the formulation, but one of the ones that will be coming out as well. So you can really see once we have this device master file in, we can deliver drugs that we're developing, but also we're working with pharmaceutical companies who
Yeah.
are developing their own formulations. So we've had some really great conversations with them. They love our device, but they want to see us hit that first FDA submission with the drug or with the device, and then we layer on their drugs and we can have that meaningful conversation. So that's our pipeline for 2026, the
Onward.
device, and then
Yeah.
start layering them on. Yeah.
That's awesome.
With
Hey, I'm
this-
going to continue to ask some questions, but if you guys have some additional questions for Jessica, post them below. We're going to pull them in. I know we got a couple here, so do that. I'm going to post those in a second. Now, I can tell you have a great pipeline. You have obvious passion. You've won some awards, a couple recently. Tell us a little bit about some of the awards and accolades you guys have been honored to receive.
Right. So, just thrilled in what our team has been able to accomplish. So, a couple of fun things. We were at Bio New Jersey. So, shout out to the Bio ecosystem. Really competitive. They had about 1,000 companies apply. They picked 92%. Of that 90, we were thrilled to just have the opportunity to be there. They gave out 5 awards. We won 2 of them. I could not believe it. So most inspirational and best overall. Now, what came out of that is that besides having great hardware and just having the opportunity to participate, especially, I mean, that event attracts founders from New Jersey, New York, Connecticut, as far as Boston, Philly. So just it was so competitive. What some of the other founders are doing there is incredible. So huge honor for us. From that, when I came off stage, we learned from about a New Jersey program. It's the New Jersey Evergreen Fund, and we learned that they'll match investments, our investors' funds, dollar to dollar. Pay a 2.5% management fee and 30% carried interest. So when I say to investors, "Oh, we're working with an evergreen fund," they're like, "This is amazing!" So that award then led to this amazing opportunity for not just for us, but for investors to have their Series A funds and matched. Another little fun thing, award or opportunity. I was at another conference presenting, and we had someone come up, really love our device, I got to geek out a little bit about our technology, and it turns out that from the National Museum of Health and Medicine, and so our innovative auto-injector has now been included in a museum because it's so innovative and for military medicine. So absolutely thrilled to have that. It's to have that honor. So next time you're in DC,
There you go. I get
go and visit our little auto injector.
right underneath the Wright brothers plane, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But it really is so next generation, because when you have a sea of auto injectors that look like this, right, that it's just such a game-changing solution. And we think of us as a lot of the modern iPhones that EpiPen's old-fashioned phone booth. So that, yes, but we've won some great awards really along the way. Those were some of the 2 most recent ones. We also working with a New England Pediatric Device Consortium. We're up against some Harvard doctors, MIT IT innovators, really competitive. It's like, oh, but we're still going to submit because I think our technology is kind of cool. And so we won. And then from the cohort that won, we continued on. That provided a bit of funding for us, and they selected one company to work with in the following year. That was us. And Ignite. So that's for female entrepreneurs, founders in life science. A fantastic program that has just opened doors and made so many connections for us. So some amazing, there's been some, but I think those are the
big
top ones, right? Like
that's quite a bit. That's awesome. That's incredible. Most people, companies, and entrepreneurs would be happy to have one of those. You've got a couple. Incredible momentum. I want to take some time to pull in some questions from the audience. It looks like the first one looks like you might have gained a customer here already. She's fascinated by your personal experience and how it drove you to create such an innovative product. As an allergy nurse, I often have to use the EpiPen and UVQ. I don't know how to say that one. ABQ on all ages, and know they struggle to describe. Would love to talk to you more. So I think when it's live, or if you need a subject matter expert, Renee is available to be a champion. Looks like so. Kind of a fun tactical question. I never asked you this, but I'm curious too. What does the Bandz part refer to in Rx Bandz?
Right. So interesting. Okay, I love that question. Because it also talks about how we pivoted. So when I first created and sketched out the design for the hydraulic delivery system, it had a longer distance to travel because it was originally a bracelet. And I thought, this is great. We can accessorize the bracelet and give it different colors to match your outfit, and can be really fun. And as working with the New England Pediatric Device Consortium, they're like, we know as a founder, you love this design, but does everyone want to carry bracelets? So in our questions, in our due diligence, we heard from women, love the ideas, but men were like, it's great, but it bends, so I can shove it in my bag or try to put it in my pocket. Like, okay, people are still, it's not quite there yet. It's better than what they have, but not everyone wants to carry a bracelet. So what we did is we shortened the hydraulic delivery system from going from here to a bracelet and ending over here and bending to being much shorter. So the hydraulic, when this piston comes down and pushes the whole cartridge forward and the needle forward, it's a much shorter distance and increased our reliability. So we were originally a bracelet, or say, Rx Bandz together with your life. So what we've done now is with our device is improved it so it really fits with everyone's needs, and then gave it accessory attachments so then that way it can go to the back of your phone, clip in as like on a pop socket or on your keychain, and still goes together with your life. But it's part of we were originally a bracelet and then innovated after really listening to our customers. I love that question.
I love that story, because that's one of the suggestions a lot of either the entrepreneurs will give or investors will give, is that entrepreneurs get so excited is a mistake, and they get so fixated on what they created that they need to be able to listen to the feedback of the customer. Right. And that's exactly what you did. I mean, you were so enamored with the idea that the company name was that, and you were willing to listen and pivot to something that has an impact. I think that's a great lesson. And kind of a little bit what Danny has a question is, what other lessons, what other unexpected challenges have you had that you've had to pivot on? Love to learn that.
It's having that, being open, being coachable, and really listening, and being careful the way that you phrase the questions. That's one of the things that I learned. When working with so many patients, I can be very enthusiastic about what we're working on.
Right.
Isn't this so much better than what you're carrying? And the answer is yes. Right. But when you have someone, when you're doing your patient surveys, have someone, I was so lucky to bring in an expert who crafted the questions that we're not leading, and we have such great data. So making decisions off of your and getting quantifiable a large amount of data, so you have quantifiable results. So it brought us to where we are today. Yeah.
That is awesome. Any other unexpected challenges? I mean, that was a major one that you pivoted on. You weren't expecting anything else that you could share with the group, or just the lessons maybe learned before as we close.
So so we started back before COVID. So one, being able to get through those times, I came from a background of Bechtel construction and engineering project management. So as a founder, I was able to build and lead teams, but I was working with a budget that was already funded by a client. So for us, um, being able to build in that resiliency where you have to go out and raise funds. And I think for so many founders, that's been it you you navigating that fundraising process was something that was new for me. And when things start to shut down, or you have to pivot then and say, how are we going to stay alive? How am I going to build a team that will fight off death?
Yeah.
So when I was in industry, and I think this is a key point, and I've talked to some other founders about this, is that how important it is to build that team that's not just an expert, but that is scrappy and resilient. So as a startup, and you're out hiring, you can say, oh, this person is from large industry and they have this amazing resume. And she's like, one of the founders I was talking to, she's like, I have these different people. Who would you choose? I'm like, who do you want who would fight with you shoulder to shoulder? Like, who is that scrappy, resilient person who will persevere? Because you have to get innovative, you have to get creative, you have to wear a lot of hats, and you want to build that team that will help keep the company alive. And I think that was something that it was a different mindset coming from an industry where there's the funding, you had the budget, you had to execute in the time and the milestones and the budget, but the budget was there, and you were looking for people who maybe had a different mindset.
Yeah.
And so as as a founder and as CEO, I was so fortunate to have a team who is scrappy, who's resilient, who has those characteristics to get us through times, not just COVID, but other periods, such as now. I think a lot of investors through the economic crisis that we're heading toward, or maybe not politics aside, that a lot of programs, the NIH, NSF, are getting cut, right? Like they had funding and now it's been taken away. That can they stay alive? A lot of investors are triaging. They say, we have these 6 platform companies. We're picking the top 2. We're not funding the remaining. So not only are we not investing in new companies, but the companies that we do have, we're triaging to see which ones we're going to keep going.
Yeah.
And having a team that can get through that was something that you learn or you die, right? So
So true.
that
So
was
true.
a unexpected bit of
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love that lesson. And I love we've gone full circle. And it's a perfect place to end, where you talked about really building that. How you did it was building a great team that had, the right education, the diversity, and you're focused on as Dan Sullivan says, the who, not the
yes.
how, right? And you focused on the who that can do it. But I think you added one additional point to finish this all off, is near and dear to my heart. So many times I'm talking to leaders of different stripes that over index on experience, right?
Yes.
You need a certain level of experience But attitude, especially in knowing you're aligning the right attitude with the right company, is the secret to the success. And I love you've got both of those identified and have identified those as really the key that have allowed you to get from an EpiPen size to right at the edge of filing FDA here. So we are at time. So I want to end with people want to get to know and understand more. I've seen some comments here, that people are highly interested. So they want to get to know RX Bandz or you yourself, invest. I know you're fundraising right now. What's the best way to reach you?
Jessica at rxbandz.com. Best way to reach out, find us on LinkedIn, connect with us. We appreciate the support. We love to hear from people who are using auto-injectors. So please, or have family members, and to be able to connect and share the story. As you mentioned, we are out fundraising our Series A. So hearing from investors and patients alike, pharmaceutical companies who are interested in using our auto-injector to deliver their formulation. As we say, don't put your new formulation in an outdated auto-injector. Please at least talk to us where we love to be able to see what is possible.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us. Thanks, everybody, for listening. And until we'll see you next time on our next MedTech Emerging Minds. Thank you.
Thank you so much.